The biggest thing to understand about the 55, speaking from experience, is that when the lows happen, to not take it personal, which means don't feel like there's anything wrong with your life, there's anything wrong with you. It's just part of this way that emotional wave works. Hello and welcome everyone to BG5 Live. We're at episode 30. So remember, we're taking a break from OC16. So Boris and Banu are off doing hopefully some wonderful things. So it's Vanessa and I. We have Sarah as well, and our good friend Jim, who's a comedian and a very experienced human design person. And so we're moving into, this feels more kind of relaxed but deep. So we're going to be doing chart analysis with a couple people who were brave enough to allow us to look at the chart and ask one particular question. Before I move on, Vanessa, tell us about the show. And Vanessa her screen is frozen. So we're going to move right into chart analysis. So Vanessa is currently residing in the Caribbean. And so her internet is a little bit shaky. There's some big storms happening in the area, so she might be coming in and out. So we'll just give a big wave to Vanessa. Vanessa! All right. So here's how chart analysis works. We invite people to send in their charts, and we ask one question related to how they're designed through and ask a question about something around business or something in that realm. So this is Sergey. He's living in Europe. His start to the question is, I feel that nowadays I can't rely on the support of institutions the way I used to. I understand that it's part of the change that we all go through. However, this vulnerability is motivating me to come up with self-sustainable solutions. Love to hear that. Such as generating my own income, not depending on getting paid on time, for example, or people assessing my worth instead of me getting paid for what I think I'm worth. So here's the idea. If you're new to human design or just not up on what we talk about is this 2027 shift. So the 2027 shift is we're moving from one age to another. And so we're moving from what we call the cross of planning to the cross of the sleeping phoenix, or the cross of the individual. So these two cycles, which last roughly 400 years, could not be more different. Could not be more different. One is very tribal, one is very collective. That's the cross of planning. And we're moving into this age of individuality, which is really, truly about the individual self-empowerment. So coming back to Sergey's question, in this context, where does my inner support and stability come from, especially on the material plane? I do not expect clear instructions on what I should do, as it's me who knows best in the end, following your inner authority, but I'm thankful for any insights that I could discover from what Mike and Vanessa will say. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the chart, just get an idea of it, and then we'll dive into the question. Okay, Sergey has a nice, really colorful chart. I'm going to do a little bit of drawing, but also helping you see. So Sergey is a classic builder. I had to look at that for a second, but he's got some interesting designs. There's also what's called a split definition, or in BG5 terms, a collaborative assimilator. So collaborative means there's two parts of the chart that are separated from one another. So collaborative people, just like the title sounds, is they operate best when in partnership. That's true for business, it's true for life. But part of the collaborative assimilation style is finding someone who essentially what we call bridging your split. Bridging your split. So one of the primary places for Sergey to get his split bridged, so again, we have one part split off from the other, is the 45 here. 45 is one of those places that are going to bridge his split. So we talk about bridging a split. We're talking about feeling more complete. When there's a certain trait that gets activated either in the other person or in the transits, that split feels like, oh, now it's connected. So Sergey is someone who can feel more whole and complete when he's with someone who has that trait 45 in their design. Okay, so that's a quick, so that's one of the ways that Sergey is going to feel he's able to make this transition from what came before to what's coming next, is having relationships that help him feel supported, help him feel more complete. So starting here, this is our primary decision making. This is the primary place, the core of his design. It's from the drive stamina to the energy resource. And it's through the strength of 360. This is innovation. So Sergey is someone who brings a lot of change to any group, any team that he's part of. He's someone who helps, okay, we're moving in some certain direction, but now we've come to a place where it's okay, what we've been doing before no longer is working. We need a change. We need something new. We need something unique. Conversely, this is also where awareness happens in a pulse. So Sergey is someone who goes through life like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, and suddenly I do know. Or, like I'm trying to figure out life, I'm trying to figure out life, and it's not working, and suddenly this awareness, this insight comes. That's a big part of his design. So change, not the kind of nice, easy, linear change. It's change that just shows up out of the blue, big, life-changing. That's often how it works for him. So Sergey, that's the first thing to know and understand about yourself is if you feel like you're stuck, if you feel like you don't know what direction to move in, if you don't feel like, okay, how is this going to work out? At some point, some change, some awareness will just show up in your field, show up in your world. The challenging part is you don't have any control of it. That's the way the pulse works. So the 360 is part of this individual channel, individual circuitry thematics, and that's part of this, how this one works. It's a big deal for you. It's a big deal for you. And also just remember, you're going to be someone who brings change to the people around you as well. So that's the first part. It's the primary. So you make decisions from your gut. So you're primarily a gut decision maker who's also influenced by your intuition. So he's got these other two parts, other part here that has the 2644. The 2644 is the strength of the transmitter. It's really about sales, marketing, and it's about crafting a message that's so tailored to the person you're speaking to. That's the 2644. The 4816 goes from survival instincts to communication. That's the strength of talent. First thing you do is you identify a skill that you want to get really good at, and you practice it over and over and over and over until you deepen and develop your talent. The 1648 is kind of the Zen path to mastery. Because the Zen path, if you don't know and understand, is you practice something, you get better and better and better and better. And it's at some point you reach a level of proficiency like, wow, that's great. So that's a huge piece of your way your life unfolds. So now I'm talking to Sergey himself. So this ability to bring change, it comes out of the blue. But while that's all happening, or you're waiting for that to happen, this ability to sell, to market, to be able to craft messages, to work with people in this really specific way, develop a talent. And along the way, the last strength you have is the 5611. It's essentially the storyteller. We call it curiosity. Part of the curiosity is to go out and have these experiences in life that yield good stories. This is a storyteller. So Sergey is someone who can tell you a lot about, the things he's developed, the skills he's developed over the course of his life, the changes that have happened, the places he's been stuck. All of that happens. And while it's happening, there's a part of his mind that's recording these experiences to ultimately become stories. Now, the thing about the 5611, Vanessa and I know about this really well, is the stories aren't always factual. The stories from the 5611 are essentially, I want to connect with people emotionally. I want to find this kind of a way to stimulate people's emotions. So the stories can be entertaining, they can be fun, they can be like, oh my God, I had this really difficult experience. They bring an emotional reaction. So Vanessa, welcome back. I told everyone that you are in the middle of the Caribbean and you might kind of come in and out with your internet. So I just gave an overview of the design. So here's the question. So I just gave this big long overview. So you're coming in just in the nick of time here. In this context, where does my inner support and stability come from, especially on the material plane? Okay, so that's the question. Vanessa, take a look. Anything you want to chime in? Anything you notice? Anything you want to add?
Well, one big thing I notice here is 8 third lines. And that's
Ooh.
by far like the most in this design. So the third quality, that experimentation, that allowing that trial and error, and also a lot of fifth qualities. And of course, that's also in the public role. And from my own personal opinion, and I want to state that that is in my variable personal perspective, stability, I think, especially in these times, is it's almost like a little bit of an illusion. Um, so we are seeking stability, but what does stability actually like really mean? And I know you're talking about inner support and stability. So I think like leaning on that trial and error process, really allowing yourself to experiment, to make mistakes. And of course, with that uh the trait 3 in the conscious core essence, like trusting your ability to bring order out of the chaos and Mm, checking in as far as conditioning is concerned, because I know I also have a lot of third qualities. It's not in my public role, but I do feel it a lot, is around shame and around conditioning that you may have received in childhood around making mistakes. And if there's any part of you that has shut down your experimentation, your willingness to learn through trial and error because of potential childhood conditioning and even cultural conditioning. I mean, where that learning process of trial and error is something that is really conditioned out of us. So really allowing yourself to make mistakes, allowing yourself to trust the discoveries, knowing that there really isn't a mistake for you. It really is just feedback and learning what doesn't work so you really can discover what works. And then also, when I see the 1648, that really allowing yourself to, I don't like to use the word perfect because I think perfectionism can be really problematic, but allowing yourself to repeat something over and over and over again in order to really master it. So I think that repetition that leads to mastery is also a big area where you can really support yourself and create that inner stability. And then, of course, with the third quality as well, being the most material of the qualities, I think that really ties into it as well. And yeah, those are like the main things that stick out for me. And if, having the 4426, I think is such a cool strength to have as far as being able to market yourself and your business to other people. So those are just some of the things that I see off the top of my head.
Vanessa, I really loved how you brought in the third lines. So just to build out what Vanessa was talking about, and I thought it was so cool the way you explained it. So you'll see when you see the two columns. So if you're relatively new to BG5 or human design, I'll just give you a quick overview. So you'll see the two columns of numbers, and you'll see a number on the left, and then you'll see a like a period, and then you'll see the number. Those are what's called line quality. So 1 through 6. The third line, as Vanessa described, is one of the most mutative, one of the most trial and error, like bumping into things. It's also like Rad talked about, a very material. So if you look at your design and you have a lot more of those line qualities than say another one, that's a big influence in your life. So Vanessa was really astute to pick out, wow, this, Sergey has a lot of this trial and error process going along. And so that means that mistakes are not mistakes in this case, because it's just a whole lifetime of learning opportunities. That was great. Vanessa, thank you. You jumped in just in time.
You're welcome.
All right. Now we're moving on to Amy. Amy's joining us here. Amy, welcome. Nice to have you. And Amy, if you feel like you need to elaborate or give us any more information, you're welcome to. So Amy is starting my solopreneur journey as a leadership and executive coach. Yay, good job. I would like to know where I should spend my energy to have a successful business. Yes. All right, let me do a quick. So Amy is also what we call a collaborative assimilator. She has what's considered more a wide split. That's two or more traits that or a strength that have to be defined in order to bring these two parts together. So I'll do a little drawing. If you have a visual, you can see it. So her primary way that she processes and moves through life is through her emotional definition, the 1949. It's the it's the strength of resources, but it's also synthesis and sensitivity to your needs and other people's needs at the same time. Here's the challenge for Amy. Her emotions are totally unconscious. So here we are. Vanessa and I are going to tell her, like, okay, this is your primary decision-making strategy, authority. You make decisions emotionally, which means you need to feel into things, take your time, relax, give yourself space in order to make any big decisions. Bigger the decision, the longer you wait, go through that sense of emotional clarity. Now, the wave of the 1949 is what we call a ratcheting wave. It's tribal. So it slowly builds, it slowly builds, it slowly builds, and suddenly it's like, whoosh, it kind of bursts. It could be like a sudden burst of awareness, or it could be anger or some release that happens. And sometimes with the tribal emotional wave, it can be like this explosion of like anger, or it could be joy, or it could be any number of things. So that's part of what you need to watch out for. And the other thing, having this in my own design, excuse me, also the 55 conscious. I mean, it's unconscious definition and a defined emotional intelligence function, which means you're also susceptible to really big mood swings. So you can be really feeling really good. Sometimes you're feeling really melancholic. The biggest thing to understand about the 55, speaking from experience, is that when the lows happen, to not take it personal, which means don't feel like there's anything wrong with your life, there's anything wrong with you. It's just part of this way that emotional wave works. Melancholy shows up and it's just there. But just know that it will come back up at some point. So having experienced the 55 in my life, I know firsthand what that's like. It's really, I think though that emotional wave starts to really show up in your late 20s, early 30s. That's when you become really aware of it. And then we have leadership, the 731 and the 4323. I'm kind of thinking, Vanessa, that this is where so much of that leadership is going to show up.
And I was going to say with this too, that when she said leadership and executive coach, I'm like, that is, this chart screams leadership and executive coach. So I absolutely love that. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. So what when you say that, what do you see? Like where are you looking in her chart, and what can you
Well,
tell her?
the leadership with the 731, the fact that she's an advisor who's here to lead and guide others, the fact that I believe this is the life theme of explanation, with that conscious core essence and grounding balance in the 2343, just that ability to really guide others with that inner knowing. I mean, there's so much powerful leadership in this that I wouldn't, as a leadership and executive coach with her strengths and her career type and then even her public role, which I will go into a little bit deeper shortly. I think this is like, based on what I see, a really good fit.
Yeah, it's almost like a perfect fit. You're right. Yeah. I totally agree. So, Amy, I totally agree with what Vanessa just said. It's like, what an amazing design. Being an advisor. So advisors are meant to guide, to lead, to shape, to just really support. Especially with you, you have a tribalness in your design. So one of the things that you're going to market yourself as and really lean into is this idea of being able to emotionally support people. That's one of your skill sets. It's going to be really amazing. As long as the relationship feels, what's the word I'm looking for? Equal, or like you what the tribalness is the bargain. And so the bargain is I give and I receive. And so that bargain is really important. So part of the bargain is being recognized for your ability to emotionally support and be sensitive to other people's needs. With the 731, it's one of the most primary leadership strengths in design. I know for a fact that there's been experiences in your life where you just like Amy's in charge. Amy's going to lead. It's one of those places that you just naturally get pulled into leadership. The nuance is that you wait to be asked to lead. It's more service leadership. In order for you to be the best leader you can, you have to be really in tune with the people you're leading to help them move forward. It's a very forward-looking kind of leadership. And just building on what Vanessa was saying, and Vanessa, I'll give it over to you in one sec. The 4323 is incredibly insightful. In fact, it's so insightful that a lot of times the things that you say can really shape how people see things and actually change how they see things. So it's really powerful. The key thing for you to know, Amy, is sometimes less is more. This is what I mean by that, is sometimes your insights are so insightful that some people may not be ready to hear what you have to say in the moment. So part of your way of working with people is assessing, can they hear what I need, what I want to share with them right now? Are they open to it? Are they receptive? So that's a big piece of it.
So Amy mentioned in the chat that sometimes she feels like she's not good enough. And there's a couple of things in your design, Amy. So specifically with that trait 48 quality 1 on the undefined survival instinct, like 48 is depth. And of course, 1 always wants to build those foundations. And so I think it's so common. I mean, we all feel that sometimes, that feeling like I'm not good enough. I think that's super common that we go through these periods of feeling inadequate or feeling imposter syndrome. With this in your design, though, like people are really attracted. Yes, and I was going to talk about the willpower next. People are so attracted and drawn in by your depth in that 48 in quality 1. Like you have so much depth that is unconscious that you're not even aware of. And people are really attracted. This is like a selling receptor for you in profit potential, that people are magnetized to your depth. And you also have that trait 4 in the unconscious grounding balance, which there can also be that sense of doubt, the not the logic thematic here, or the understanding thematic, is such, this is energy that's meant for the collective. And sometimes when you see a lot of logic in somebody's design, you are here, like you're recognizing patterns, your ability to share and make the collective better based on what you see is a big gift here. The trap that can happen is that when you turn that energy in on yourself or on your personal relationships. So having that awareness when that self-doubt comes up, also this can show up as self-criticism, especially with trait 18 defined here. Just having that awareness when it comes up and really taking some time to get back into your body, because I know we get so up into our heads of, oh, do I know enough? Or maybe I need to study more or figure out how to conceptualize this better, or all of these things. Like having practices that get you back into your body and ground you can be really beneficial here. And then the other thing I wanted to say, of course, with the undefined willpower, there is that shadow of trying to prove yourself or feeling the need to prove yourself. And not letting that distract you from actually following your decision-making strategy, from actually recognizing true recognition when others truly recognize you for who you are, and not just, they're not just, you're there and so I want your help, but they really recognize your brilliance. And then really waiting for that emotional clarity. And I know I also have a split emotional intelligence, and wait for clarity. My decision-making strategy, mine is also partially unconscious. So I know it can take a little bit more time and a little bit more work to really feel into that emotional clarity, which is definitely that work, like really, really worth doing, to get to clarity on what the correct things are for you, and then really trusting your inner wisdom. Like there's so much brilliance and wisdom in this design, your ability to see things that we as builders can't see as an advisor, the depth that you have, like really letting yourself trust that, and that you will attract the right people when you are really living in alignment with your design. And then the last thing I want to say before I turn it back to Mike, specifically about where you should spend your energy to have a successful business: 9 fourth qualities in your design, including in your public role. So networking, like really making sure that you build the right network of people that can support you, that you can support. And then while also finding that balance, because you do also have a second quality, and you also have trait 33, which is one of the traits of aloneness, making sure that you find the balance between your alone time, that you can trust your natural gifts and talents with that second quality, while also really spending time building your network. So really finding that balance.
Nice, Vanessa. That was great. I love how we look at the same chart, but we look at it through kind of different lenses. So it's a kind of a
Yeah.
fun juxtaposition. Building on what you were saying, so Amy has the 7. So over here, driving force is the 7-4. So that's a big piece of. So your leadership is going to really take off, essentially with people you know, or friends of friends, that type of deal. So instead of trying to, and Vanessa, correct me if you already said this, but it's not marketing to the masses. It's marketing to people that you're connected with, or it's also within a niche that you really know. So that's that part of that 4 is super friendly. Speaking as a 2-4 myself, so that 4, it's really about connecting with people you're familiar with, or a niche that you're familiar with, or just working in a way that's more friendly as opposed to like being the expert, that type of thing. Yeah. Is there anything else we can say? Amy, do you have any other
Yeah.
questions?
So, well,
Go
with
ahead.
the 4, also the 4 is, the 31 is also in the 4, and she's got the 4 in both the conscious and unconscious, past and future direction. So
Mm,
past direction where you be, like your environment, and then future direction and the people that you see. So that 4 is so significant in your design, and really making the most of that. That's also where word of mouth will come from. And word of mouth really is best possible marketing that anybody can give you. It's priceless, because we are much more likely to buy something that somebody that we trust told us about than something that is advertised or traditionally marketed to us.
Yeah. So Amy's talking about I'm niching in quiet leadership, which is who I am as well. I'm curious if I should branch into group coaching, mastermind speaking right now, so I'm only doing one-to-one. Any thoughts on that, Vanessa?
My thoughts are how do you feel about that? Um, if it's something that you feel good about and something that you want to do, I definitely think you would be great leading groups and masterminds and speaking. The thing that you want to be careful of is, I know that when we're going from one-on-one to groups, sometimes people really hold themselves back because it's scary. Okay, so you feel good about it. So yeah, absolutely. Absolutely something that you want to do. Of course, the fears are going to come up, and the fears that you might be amplifying in that undefined survival instinct, the fear of inadequacy in the 48, the fear of authority or judgment in the 18, and the fear of imperfection in the 32. So you want to be really aware of when those are coming up, because as you move through those fears, and it's going to be uncomfortable, like it's not necessarily, you might feel some nervousness, some anxiety, those types of things, but as you move through those fears and you do those things more and more, those fears will have less power over you. So if that's something that you feel good about, and the only thing that's stopping you is that feeling of not good enough, like your chart, like you're definitely good enough. And I say, who invites you, and like look at where you are being recognized and who's inviting you into leadership, and what really gives you that emotional clarity after you wait out your wave. Absolutely, I say go for it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Amy, do you want to add anything or any reflections you want to share?
Wondering if I can come off mute. Yeah, well, thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like it's always that coming back of like, yes, I know there's like some knowing that I want to do this, but at the same time there's like not good enough always comes up. It's like, who am I to tell people how they, become a leader? Because I feel like I didn't really go all the way up to the rank. So I was always like, oh, okay, like once I hit someone that a potential client that's like maybe going for something like bigger than what I had done, that feeling of like, oh gosh, who am I to tell them? So that always kind of comes up.
You know something
It's
interesting? Okay, I'll say this really quick. So something interesting to think about is, Amy, you embody leadership. So leadership is in your frequency, in your field. So whether they're working with you in person or on Zoom, it doesn't really matter. People are going to be drawn to you because you carry the frequency of leadership. And so that just that frequency that you have can inspire or ignite leadership in another person. You're allowing your intuition, you're allowing your sensitivity to customize someone else's leadership. Remember, you don't have to teach them everything about leadership. You're working with someone specific that you're going to have a lot of insights in the moment. And trusting that.
Yeah, and also, the thought that comes to my mind is the difference between like coaching and mentorship. So, for example, like mentorship is somebody that has done what you're trying to do and is guiding you from their own personal experience on having done what you're trying to do. But when you're coaching, especially with this design and your ability to see into people's energies, I mean, think about people that are advisors to world leaders. Like most of those advisors to the world leaders have not been world leaders themselves. So you don't have to, like, it's okay if somebody comes to you that maybe is in a bigger leadership position than you've been in, and you can still see things that they can't see, especially through looking, from the perspective of BG5 business consulting, and also through the perspective of your design. You're going to be able to guide and lead them and coach them in ways that somebody else that might have already done what they have done, or has had, higher leadership positions or whatever it is that you're looking at, like you'll be able to do that in your own unique way and in a way that makes a massive contribution. in a way that somebody else might not have been able to do. And especially when you're attracting the right people for you, the people that you can really get results for, like you're going to be able to do that in a way that nobody else will be able to do.
It's almost as if, building on what you're saying, Vanessa, it's almost as if everyone has their own signature and a signatory coaching style. So Amy, we can keep tweaking, but what we're doing right now with Amy is helping her hone her particular coaching style. And Vanessa brought in the past and future direction, which is also environment and perspective, like she was talking about. So in human design, we talk about it in terms of nodes. BG5, we talk about it in terms of past, future direction. You can see the best kind of environments, who's going to be there, the kind of people you're going to meet along the way. And so with this knowledge, things get really specific really fast. So we're creating this kind of signature style for Amy. We can do this for anyone, by the way. We can do this for anyone. And so one of the benefits of what Vanessa and I are doing right now is we're helping Amy, yes, but we're also helping Amy's clients because we're helping her understand her style, her coaching style that gets, she's going to really hone that. And then her clients are going to be also the beneficiaries of our work too. So it's kind of exciting to think in those terms.
And if we take that to another level, by Amy coaching her clients, she's then also benefiting all of the people that they lead.
What a ripple effect. Drop a pebble, see a storm. So thank you, everyone. We're gonna pause here. Amy, so wonderful to have you live. Sergey, thank you for sending out the question. Jim, thanks for joining us live. It's great to have you. Anything else before we sign off, Vanessa?
And I think that's it. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your charts and your excellent questions. Yeah.
Okay, we are back in November 11th, Tuesday, November 11th, and Tuesday, November 25th. So those are our two. So in November, we're coming back to our OC16 analysis. So this is a nice break for us. I really loved kind of taking some time
Yeah.
to read charts. It was really fun.
Yeah. And if you guys like this and you want more of it, let us know. Because maybe in the new year, we will do more of these if it's helpful to you. Wherever you're listening or watching, drop a comment, let us know your thoughts, and maybe we will do more of these.
Okay, so before we head out, Sarah's asking, can we pull up Jim's chart? Jim, do you have any burning questions?
I have burning parts that probably should be dealt with more by a pharmacist. Probably that's probably a separate thing. No, guys, you guys have done great with these other charts, and I appreciate. You guys can do me next time, unless you feel you have the energy for it. So if it will be helpful, you can read my chart. Otherwise, I'm good. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right, let's
That's up to you, Mike. You want to do it? You want to do it next time?
Yeah, let's do it next
I'm
time.
open. Okay.
All right,
We'll put
everyone.
it on
Thank
the
you
list
so
first.
much. We'll see you in November. Everyone, bye
Bye,
for now.
everyone.
Thank you.